Hello everyone, this is Big Red coming back to you once again. Today we're going to do something a little special. It is getting Commander season. The new Commanders are about to come out. This is the 2019 Commanders, depending on when you're watching this. So I thought I would do something a little special and do a little deck tech with you for Commander. I'm really excited. Everyone's got so many ideas about the new Commanders themselves, some of the Commanders in it. A lot of these Commander decks are probably going to get busted apart and redesigned, so everyone's really hyped up about it, myself included. So make sure to watch for notifications, because I do plan on doing unboxing of these for you. I know that the deck lists are always out there, but some of us just really like to watch the box being opened and the product getting fresh air and going through and kind of getting people's ideas as we go through the decks. So today I decided I would do a deck tech with you, just in the spirit of the Commander. And this was one of my personal favorite ones, and I'm really big into tribal. Today we're going to be looking at Ezuri, the Renegade leader. He is a 3-drop, 2 green in colors for a 2/2 with pay green, regenerate another target elf, or you can pay 5, 3 green 2 elves. Elf creatures you control get 3/3 and gain trample until the end of turn. He's 2/2. So this is really good. I've been working on this deck for probably roughly around 10 years. Basically, as soon as I found out what EDH was, and some of my friends had one, and so I just wanted to hop in and build it. And I was really glad that throughout the years of me getting in Magic, that these are some of the things I've really held on to and kept valuable. Because no matter what format I'm in, I've always got Commanders to play. But enough about that. What I was wanting to do today is really kind of give you a deck tech of this, kind of get your opinions. What is your Ezuri like? I know some people run different versions. Mine is just really elf tribal with a splash of druid. I have like a sub-druid theme in there, which most elves are. But we'll get into the gist of things. We'll put our Commander right there. Let's start off with the big bulk of the Commander deck. What's the most thing in Commander? A lot of people say removal. Wrong. It's the lands. Without lands, we can't play. In this deck, we're running 28 lands in total, 21 of which are your basics. We like to run the full art, preferably Zendikar if we can, because they're more powerful. Not really, but I enjoy that. Just straight basics. Some foreign basics is really nice to have. Some people like to bling out their deck. Full arts is the way I like to go. In some of my decks, I'd like to eventually have like old ones with tap symbol, but that's just me. As you'll notice, some of these have my signature in the bottom. It's just kind of my way of telling myself, hey, you really enjoy this deck, don't get rid of it. I know some of us, we usually build decks and we really love it and we get rid of them just out of impulses or really bad things that happen in our life, and we always wish we could go back and keep them. So that's what the signatures are for. For our non-basics, we have 7, some of which are combo pieces, like Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. I do apologize, I do walk over my words sometimes. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, tap it, add 1 colors to your mana pool, tap for 2, choose a color, add to your mana pool, an amount of mana of that color equal to the devotion to that color. So in green, we're going to get a lot of devotion. We have a lot of double, triple green, so this right here is going to come in really good handy. Along with that, we have our Deserted Temple that works really well with it, because it allows us to untap target land, so we can really get in there with this. And if I had a Gaia's Cradle would be in here as well, just because of how broken and how much mana you can get with it. Also with Deserted Temple, it really helps us with our Wirewood Lodge. Wirewood Lodge is 1 tap for 1 colorless or untap target elf. And this works really well with our Deserted Lodge, because you can untap an elf, untap a land, untap the elf, and we can really ramp, because in this deck we do want to ramp as much as we can and really abuse that second ability on Ezuri to give ourselves 3/3 and trample. We also have Tranquil Thicket. It comes into play tapped. You can add a green or you can cycle it. Early game, this is really bad. Late game, it's nice to be able to toss it away and get a new draw, or maybe even just you need that extra card, you put something on top and you need to get there. This allows us to maybe cycle and get that card into our hand. Followed by Pendelhaven. Now Pendelhaven is kind of like a weird card to have in this deck. It taps for a green. That's the same thing as all of our other mana does, but also the second ability, target 1/1 creature gets 1/2 until the end of turn. A lot of our creatures are 1/1s, but we have so many lords that you never see them as 1/1s. But sometimes it's really nice to have that early game protection. Maybe we don't have a lord out, and I would rather have the option to have it than not have it at all. So that's why this is kind of in here. Orin Reef, the Vastwood, enters the battlefield tap. You can add a green, put a 1/1 counter on each green creature who enters the battlefield this turn. This is kind of the thing that we was talking about. I'd rather have the pumps when I don't have the lords, and this kind of does that for us. Reliquary Tower is really nice. Even though elves, you really don't see a lot of card draw in green, what we do have really fills our hand full, and sometimes we just really don't want to get rid of all that value. So we run Reliquary Tower. And then we have Cavernous Souls. For the most part, people aren't really going to counter elves. What they're usually going to do is wait until we play a bunch of stuff and then field wipe us. But this is in here for those situations where we really need to get maybe Ezuri out here, or maybe that one little wind piece combo, and we need this on the field to get us there. We don't really do much with the add 1 mana of any color. It's going to give us green, that's why we're using it. But the reason it's in here is because, if nothing else, there's a lot of sentimental value of this card for me. A really good friend of mine gave it to me, and he really loves elves, so what a better place to put it. And that's why I've got my name on this one, because I will never get rid of this card, no matter what, just because of that sentimental value. Alright, moving on. Let's take a look at our artifacts. We are running 4 different artifacts, one of which are 1,000-Year Elixir. It's 3 colorless. You may play the activated ability of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. You can pay 1 to untap target creature. This is some more of those things, kind of like our lands earlier, to untap creatures. A lot of people will run this in goblins just to be able to tap Crinkle, get goblins, untap, tap them again, which is really good and really busted. But 1,000-Year Elixir, this is going to help us do the same thing with our elves to get mana instead of tokens. And we want to produce a lot of mana in this deck. Akroma's Memorial, 7 colorless for a legendary artifact. Creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, protection from black, and protection from red. This is really great. Black and red is really strong removal. We do not like removal. The haste is a big part for us. The reason why is because we fill our field so quick, but without haste we really can't swing in for the kill, and usually by the time it makes it fully around the board, we usually see a field wipe, mass removal, or there's something really detrimental to the deck, but we just can't get them back from. So Akroma's Memorial, sorry, I'm going to walk over my words with me, allows us to get that haste in there, so that way we can finish off the game when we have it, instead of having to wait 1 full rotation. Emerald Medallion is really nice. 2-drop green spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. A lot of our stuff costs 1 green, so this isn't going to allow us to cast a whole lot, but what it does allow us to cast makes it so much more easier and more fluid, because sometimes you are just a few mana off, and this allows us to get there, and it makes our early game really explosive, and it's not too bad in our late game. So that's why we run Emerald. Umbral Mantle. This card should be banned in this deck. It is so good in my opinion. You can pay 3 to untap the equipped creature, and it gets +2 to your turn. That's not really why we want it. What we want it for is the untap ability. A lot of our elves tap for mana equal to the number of elves we control, so as long as that is 4, we're going to go infinite on mana. You tap your elf, get 4 mana, pay 3 to untap it, you've net 1 mana. Continuously do that, but 9 times out of 10 you're going to have more than just 4 mana to sink into this, and the equip 0 just is so nice. I'm going to hold this in my hand until I get to do my stuff, and then just play it and just straight out win with it. I didn't even know this card existed until a buddy of mine pointed it out, and I was like, why is this not in my deck? This should definitely be in there. And there's so many different elves that you can use this on to really combo out. And sometimes you don't even need elves to combo it out. Sometimes there's other strategies that you want to do that's really great for this. And that's why we run it. Moving on, we have 1 Planeswalker in the deck. Yeah, you can't run elves without Nissa. She's kind of like the poster child here. For the one that I've chosen, it's the 4-drop. You can +1 search your library for a card named This Is Chosen and put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. I don't run This Is Chosen. I don't have it in the deck because at the end of the day it's a 2/2 for 2 that has a nice ability. But I would prefer to use the +1 gain 2 life for each elf you control. This is very, very important in this deck. We want to gain that life. That way we can take those early hits to get really explosive. And you do. You gain so much life for this. So it's really nice. And then the -7, search your library for any number of elf creature cards and put them on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. That is just nuts, considering how many creatures we run. We run 52 creatures in this deck, so being able to go through and get it, almost every one of those creatures just swims around the battlefield, unless there's something really crazy, that is game ending right there, just for that ability. But the +1 is really where this chick shines. Moving on, we're going to look over some enchantments now. One of which is new, it just got reprinted, but we'll get to that one in just a second. It's really great for the deck. Our first one is Quest for the Renewal. It's a 2-drop enchantment, 1 green colorless. Whenever a creature you control becomes tapped, you may put a quest counter on Quest for Renewal. As long as there are 4 or more quest counters on Quest for Renewal, untap all creatures you control during each other player's turn. Untap step. So considering most of our creatures tap for mana, this basically means for us that all of our creatures are going to untap during each player's turn. This allows us to use regeneration for multiple field wipes back to back to back, multiple removal back to back. This is going to do really well with any kind of life gain creatures or any kind of little combos. This is really, really good in this deck. Next one is Elvish Guidance. This is some of that mana producer stuff I was telling you about. 3-drop enchant land. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds 1 green to her mana pool for each elf in play. This is basically like a creature that taps for, or like an Elvish Archdruid, or one of those. I can't think of the names, but we'll get to those in a little bit. This basically just, it's without a body, and it's a lot harder to remove. So this is really, really good for us. Leyline of Abundance. This card is really, really busted in this deck because it allows you such an explosive start. And even late game, you can do some really crazy stuff for it because it's going to give you extra green mana. With this on the field and with our medallion that makes green spells cost 1 less, this turns our 3-drops into 1-drops, which speeds us up so much. And even if we're not using it for the mana, if we can't get Ezuri out, if we can get infinite mana still, or even a lot of mana, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, that can be very broken, and it gives us a place to really sink all that extra mana that we're going to be getting into. If we don't have anything else, we can at least put a lot of counters on our stuff. So this is really good, and I'm going to come back to this enchantment later and tell you a little bit more about it once we get to a few other cards in the deck. Alright, now we're going to go to spells. We have 11 spells. This is our instant and sorceries. We have Lead the Stampede. Sound very redneck of me. Lead the Stampede. It's a 2 and a green. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You reveal any number of creature cards from among them and put the revealed cards into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library. This is really good. It's just going to help us dig a little bit and get there a little quicker. Elvish Promenade, 4-drop for a tribal elf. So anytime you're like searching for an elf card, you can get this. Put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token onto the battlefield for each elf you control. This is really good. We're not really worried about it being a warrior, but just for the fact that we can get elves on the field and really create a board presence, or maybe even use this to our benefit with Well-Wisher, Elfish Druid, just to be able to get more stuff out there. This is basically for board presence in this deck. Genesis Wave. This is usually really explosive in this deck. You're always Genesis waving for like 20 or 30 in this deck because of all the mana ramp that we do have. So usually when this goes off, if we can get a Chroma's Memorial out there and some other cards, usually it's game over. Genesis Wave is really big. And there's a lot of synergy in this deck to play Genesis Wave, play other cards to get Genesis Wave back, and just play it over again. I've seen several games where I played this card 3 and 4 times each game. It's really good. Vitalize, 1 green, instant speed, untap all creatures you control. This is really good for trick plays. This is good for combos. This is good if you just need to get that extra bit of mana there. This card really just speaks for itself. And the art really puts me in the mind of Skyrim there. Make yourself a nice look at that. That's pretty. Shimmy-Shan, Revolution. 5-drop, sorcery speed. Draw a card for each creature you control. Ferocious. Yes, that's the word, ferocious. It's really late. You gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. It's really easy for us to get there in this deck. All we have to do if we have enough mana, we can sink 5 into Ezuri, give all of our stuff +3/+3. Now every creature we control is 4 or greater, so we're going to gain a lot of life off this card. We're also going to draw a lot of cards off this. And this is a really nice piece, especially the buy box promo. Revive. It's a green and a colorless. Return target green card from your graveyard to your hand. Considering 90% of this deck is green, we pretty much can get anything back. So we can get back the Shamanic Revelations, our Genesis Wave, maybe a good creature or a lord got killed. We can get back our Nissa Planeswalker. This is really good for the deck. This is some like graveyard recursion that we really like. Then we have some tutors. Court of Calling, this allows us to go get some of them lords that we're talking about, some of those really good pump creatures, maybe a creature tutor. It's really good fixing it with instant speed and convoke. Maybe we just need to get one of those big creatures out there for a game finisher. And this allows us to search our deck and get that at instant speed. So that's really, really nice for trick plays. Really good addition to the deck. Summoner's Pact, it's basically, for us, we're going to use this when we're wanting to finish the game. So it's a free spell, 0-drop, search your library for a green creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you pay 4 mana. If you don't, you lose the game. We're always going to be able to pay the 4 mana if we can, or for some reason someone fogs us or prevents the damage. We're always going to be able to use this. And it's just such a great tutor for low on mana. To be able to do this for free and get what we need out, that's really great for the deck. Next up is Green Sun Zenith. 1 green and an egg, search your library for a green creature with your mana cost extra, let's put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Shuffle Green Sun Zenith into its owner's library. This is really great. It's a tutor that recurs itself. It just shuffles right back in. We can use it again and again, which is great. And sometimes we use this as early as turn 2 if we can get 3 mana out, just to get some of the priests out there that taps for nowhere else. This is really great. Really good game. Worldly Tutor. 1 green and search for green creature card. Reveal that card to all players. Shuffle your library and put the reveal card top. That's what I was talking earlier with that land that allows us to cycle. If we really don't want to get our stuff milled, we can always just put it on the top, cycle our land away, draw the card that we need. Works out really well. Eldritch Evolution. I use this card actually a lot in the deck, a lot more than I initially thought. 2 green and 1 for sorcerer speed. As an additional cost to cast this, you sacrifice a creature. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, where X is 2, plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library, exile this card. Even if we're sacrificing a 1-drop, we're going to get in a 3-drop or less, which that's the most of the deck. So this card by itself, you don't have to sacrifice something big to get what you want. It gets us there. Moving right along. Let's see, creatures. Obviously, we haven't gone over creatures, and that's the really big part of the deck. Like I was saying, we have 52 creatures, 6 of which are lords. So let's take a look at this big bulk here. Let's start off with our lords. Joraga, Warcaller. 1-drop for a 1/1 with multi-kicker. This deck, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, we produce a lot of mana, so this is probably one of our best lords. For a multi-kicker, you can pay a green and a colorless as many times as you can. You just battlefield with that many 1/1 counters on it, and each other creature you control, each other elf creature, gets +1 for each 1/1 counter on this guy, which is nuts. He gets really big, really quick. He's a great part of the deck. I'm glad to have him. Oops. I'm trying to skip a few cards on you. Imperious Perfect, 3-drop, 1 and 2 and a green for 2/2. Other elves you control get +1/1. You can pay a green and tap it. Put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token onto the battlefield. Speaks for itself. It pumps our elves and makes elves. It's really good. Elvish Archdruid, 2 and a colorless for a 2/2. Other elf creatures you control get +1/1. You can tap it for green or tap it to add a green for each elf you control. This is one of those good cards that it's not only a lord, but it also is going to pump our team. And I like the art. I like the new art too. The new art ain't bad. This chick right here, she is literally just a lord. She has 2 abilities, but she's 2 green for a 1/1. This is good for our devotion. Other elves you control get +1/1. You can pay 6. Search your library for a card named Elvish Clan Caller. Put it on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Here's the thing with this one right here. We're never going to find another one with that name because it's Commander. We only run 1. But we're mainly running it for the +1/1 to all elves, the double devotion, and if at necessary, which we probably never will, we have a 6-mana shuffle our deck. We can search and choose not to find. Elvish Champion, this one's really good. 2 and a colorless for a 2/2. All elves get +1/1 and have Forest Walk. They're unblockable as long as a defending player controls a forest. That is really good, and I really like the art on this guy. I really like Elf Archers. He's cool. Alright. Dwynn Gilt Leaf Dain? I do not know how to pronounce some of these card names, so be with me. 4-drop, 2 and 2 green for a 3/4 with reach. Other elf creatures you control get +1/1. Whenever this creature attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. So it's going to give us life, it's pumping our team, it has reach. Both this and the champion are holding a bow, which is awesome. I love elf archers. This isn't elf archer theme or anything like that, but I do like the elf archer kind of style. It just really suits them. And I love Lord of the Rings, so it kind of goes with that. That's our lords for the deck. And we do have a lot of mana producers. We don't have a whole lot of lands. Usually if we can get 1 or 2 lands to kick off the deck, usually we're in really good hands, especially if those lands are green. Our first mana producer is also a tutor spell, Elvish Harbinger. I had it in my little tongue, I should have just went with it. Harbinger, 2 and a green for a 1/2. Comes in the battlefield, tutor for an elf card, refill it, and put it on top. Add for 1 mana of any color. That's really good in multicolor elves too. Fiendhorn Elder, green and 2. You can tap to add 2 green. But with our new ley line, this is taps for 3. Now you may notice on some of my elf cards, there's like a D written there. The reason for this is some of your older cards don't say Druid, and I don't mind to write on my cards, especially if it's cards that I plan on keeping for a while. Hence the reason my signature is on 90% of the deck. But I plan on keeping this. I don't ever plan on getting rid of this deck. That's why it's there. It's just kind of like a little reminder going, hey, this is a Druid. Don't forget that. And that helps. Then we have Heritage Druid, 1 for a 1/1. Tap 3, untap elves you control. Add 3 to your mana pool. Now, keep in mind with this, with the ley line, this won't work. This is an ability that taps 3 elves, but you're not actually tapping the elves for mana. But this is still a really explosive start for us. I love having this out in 2 1-drop elves. It's really, really good. Priest of Titania. This is the other one that I was talking about. 2 for a 1/1. You can tap it, add mana equal to the number of elves you control. This is also a druid, as you can see, of the... And, oh yeah, I mentioned I was going to bring this artifact back up. See, something like this right here, if you have the elves that I'm talking about, just equip this, tap it, get 4, use 3 to untap. You go infinite with this, with that, you just play this and whatever else you control that can attack, you just win out, unless they've got some kind of answer for it, which most cases they won't, but some they do. Quarian Ranger for a 1-drop for a 1/1, return a forest you control to its owner's hand. Untap target creature. Use this ability only once each turn. This is really good just for situations like that. If we don't have anything crazy, this helps us get a lot of extra mana. This chick right here, let me tell you about her, or him. It's devoted, whatever it is. The face on this really looks like a chick, so I'm gonna say it's a chick. 1-drop for, or 2-drop for a 0/2. Whenever you tap it, you add 1 green mana to your mana pool. Put a 1/1, put a -1 counter on, untap it. This with our ley line adds for 2. Now, if you take into consideration the ability here, as long as there's a lord on field, or if we can get just 1 in that defense category, you can tap it for 2, untap it, get a -1/1 counter, tap it again for 2, get another -1 counter on there, tap it for 2. That gives us 6 mana, and if it's a lord, this defense is going to be right at 1. We sink that 6 mana, or at least 5 of it, into the lord, gives all else +3/3, brings this back up to 4. We can just continuously do this and go infinite with it. But now at the end of the turn, if we didn't win, this chick is gone. Bye-bye! But that's one of the nice little comments in this. And you don't need this ley line to do it. There's another elf in here, and I'll just point it out as we're going through it, that allows us to do so. Seeker of Skybreak, 2-drop for a 2/1 untapped target creature. This is just one of those that allows us to really ramp. Fiendhorn Elf, 1-drop for a 1/1. Notice the deed to let us know it's a druid. And I'll mention why I keep pointing druids out. Like I was saying, it's kind of like I got a side druid thing. Add 1 mana to your mana pool. Jurgon Tree Speaker. This is the other card that said that I was going to point out. 1-drop for a 1/1. You can pay 2 to level it up. Once you get it max level, elves you control have tap, add 2 to your mana pool. This is what I mean. If you can get this max level with the other one and still got Ezuri out, any kind of lord will allow you to go infinite. Llanowar Elves. This is one of the older printings. I actually like this art a lot because the more elves, it just makes me feel like there's more on the field. Once again, this is a druid. I'm sure most of you know. Gar Sage, 2 for a 1/2 with Evolve. Add 1 mana to your mana pool for each 1/1 count on this. Now, this doesn't really get to evolve a whole lot, considering most of our creatures that enter the battlefield starts off as 1/1s, and we just really don't have a lot of lords on it. But there's another synergistic card with this. I'll leave this right here, and we're going to come right back to that in just a second, and I'll show you why. Then we have our promo Elvish Mystic. Really like that. We have our Boreal Druid, 1 for a 1/1, taps for a colorless. It's still ramping, that's why we're running it. Moldiah Channelers, 3-drop for a 2/2, play the top card of your library revealed. As long as the top card is a creature, she gets +3/+3. As long as it's land, I can tap it for 2 mana, which ain't too shabby. And that's also a druid. Arbor Elf, 1-drop, 1/1, untap target forest. With our enchantment that we have that allows us to tap a land equal for the number of elves we control, this is really great for that. This basically turns us into one of your big elf mana producers. Then we have Birchlore Ranger, 1-drop for a 1/1, tap 2, untap elves you control, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This is really good in situations. Ooh, I'm gonna yawn. Hold on 1 second. Ooh, yawn. It's a good yawn. Anyways, this is really good in situations where taps creatures you control with hexproof. This allows us to tap them. Also allows our elves to just do really great stuff early game when we don't have a lot of mana elves, but we do have a lot of 1/1s. This allows us to ramp just a little bit more. Viridian Joiner, 3, add an amount of mana equal to its power. This is really good, especially if we can get it up a couple bumps. Once again, this is just a really good piece for this because you can go infinite with it. Turns this into one of those elves as well. Green Weaver Druid, 2 and green, you for a 1/1. Add 2 to your mana pool. Elf Druid, which is really nice. Merwin the Nurturer for 3 for a 1/1. Whenever another elf enters battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on her. Add an amount of mana equal to her power. Once you get a couple elves, there's another piece for you to combo with. Copperhorn Scout. Whenever it attacks, you untap each other creature you control. This is really good early game, even if you have to swing by itself just to get the untap trigger. That's really good because sometimes we just need it. This is one of those non-elf creatures. We have 8 non-elf creatures in the deck, and this is a little insect, but it still has an elf in them and the art, so that counts for something, right? A 1-drop for a 1/1, return an elf you control to its owner's hand. Untap target creature, activate this ability only once per turn. This is kind of like that elf that we have that returns a forest, so we can return a forest to untap a creature, untap an elf to untap a creature. And then I wonder if you play the elf that you just bounced. That's a thought. But not bad. Once again, this is one of my buddies. He's really big into elves. He kind of showed this card to me, and I was like, oh, that exists. I did not know it existed. Well-Wisher, everyone's best friend in elves, especially if you're playing elves. 2-drop for a 1/1, you gain 1 life for each elf on the battlefield, not just under your control, but on the battlefield. Really great. They should have just made her. She's really good. Tap 4 untap creatures you control. Choose her artifact or enchantment. This is really good with that enchantment that untaps our elves at the beginning of everyone's last step. So it allows us to continuously remove artifacts and enchantments that really could bug us, really just bring us down, and that's really, really bad for us. So this is good for that. I mean, yeah, man, you can tell. Alright. As long as it's not your turn, tapped creatures you control have hexproof. This is that elf I was telling you about that allows you to tap your creatures even though they don't have mana abilities. That helps us keep our stuff hexproof. And sometimes that's very important for our spot removal. Gotta make a foil too. Alright, here's Big Daddy. Here's the guy that really turns elves onto control, at least for me anyway. I always have this sub-druid thing, and this is the exact reason why. 5-drop for a 3/3. When I play a druid spell, I may draw a card. Alright, so he's a draw engine. Already by himself, he's worth being in the deck. But this next part's really what I like. Tap 7 untapped druids you control. Gain control of all lands target player controls. Keep in mind, this isn't until the end of turn. You gain control of them forever. Take them home with you after the game's over. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But anyway, so with this, with the enchantment, tap 7 druids, take control of someone's land. Goes to their turn, all of your stuff in taps, take control of someone else's lands. It really just shuts the game down. So even if you're not ready to go off and kill somebody, this allows you that control aspect where it's basically like, hey, if I can't play, you're not going to play. And this is just a really busted card in this deck. That's why we have so many druids, so many mana-producing elves, because we want druids, not only for ramp, but for this guy. If we can get 7 druids on the field, it's usually game over. This is a new card. We have 2 M20 cards in this deck. One with the Leyline, and this right here is Elvish Reclaimer. 1-drop for a 1/2. Elvish Reclaimer gets 2/2 as long as there are 3 or more land cards in your graveyards. We're not worried about the 2/2. We're not even worried about having 3 lands in your graveyards. It's the second ability that we really love. It's an Elf Warrior. You can pay 2 and tap it. Sacrifice a land. Search your library for a land card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. This is really, really good if we need a Nykthos Shrine, and need a Gaia's Cradle, need any of those untapped lands that really keeps things going. And we don't care to sacrifice a forest to do this, because we're going to get so much more value out of it by doing this. That's not bad. I mean, there's some decks that run graveyard strategies, so it's like, alright, sack, get this, play it back from your graveyard, do this, sack a land, do crazy stuff. A lot of cool stuff you can do, but I'm going to use it to tutor to get out my big mana ramp stuff. Elvish Pioneer. 1-drop for a 1/1. Whenever it comes into play, you may put a basic land card from your hand into play tapped. This is really good turn 1. Elvish Mystic is really nice turn 1 because it gets you those second lands, but this ain't bad either because it gets you to a 3 land base on turn 2, depending on how many lands you have in hand. So that's not bad. Elf Pioneer is really good. Sylvan Messenger. I think there's one of these for each of the creatures. There's one for goblins and there's one for elves. 4-drop for 2/2 with trample. Enters the battlefield. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all elf cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. It's really good if it hits the field through like a Genesis wave. It lets you just dig that much further. Farhaven Elf, 3-drop for a 1/1, enters the battlefield. You may search your library for a basic land card to put on the battlefield tap. If you do, shuffle your library. This is an elf druid, so we have the druid part that goes with it. Honestly, if I could replace this with anything, I'd probably replace it with the Flip Nissa, because she's the exact same thing. 3-drop, lets you go get an elf. I'm not sure if she's a druid or not, but once she flips, then she does a lot more stuff. That would probably be a better spot for this, honestly, and that may be something that changes in the future. But for now, it's Farhaven. Beast Whisperer. This spell you really got to be careful with. It's really busted and really broken in some cases. For a 4-drop, for a 2/3, whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So, I mean, if we're doing elves, we're ramping, all of our elves can tap for mana. Sometimes you really have to be careful because you could deck yourself out, and I've come really close. Fauna Shaman. 2-drop for 2/2. I can pay green for a creature card, search my library for a creature card, reveal it, put it in my hand, then shuffle my library. This is really good if we need some of them really big blowout creatures, or if I just want to tutor for anything, really. I drew a bad elf, I don't want that elf, toss it, go get a better one. I love this card, and I love the art in this card. Really nice. Most elf decks have to have this. And that's kind of what the Elvish Piper is there for. So if someone's coming at me and I need to get that, there's a worm that makes it where you can't die, your life total can't go below 7. I can tap this, search it, put it in my hand, tap Elvish Piper, put it on the battlefield, and it keeps me from dying. Elvish Piper is just those big guys that we need to get out for less mana. That's what it's there for. Gaia's Herald, 2-drop for 1/1. Creature spells can't be countered by spells or abilities. We don't run spells. We don't run any abilities that counter, so why should anyone else? I just think it makes the game fair. We're getting close to that card that I was talking about. Jagged Scar Archer, 3-drop for a star. Its power and toughness equal to the number of elves you control. You can tap it, deals damage to equal to its power to target creature with flying. We don't really have that much flying removal. We don't have that much removal in general in this deck. So we do need some of those stuff. We can handle those stuff on the ground, but the air stuff, that's where our archers come in. Elvish Visionary, 2-drop for 1/1, lets us draw a card, lets us feed through that deck, get to some of those pieces that we really need. 1-drop, 1/1, Essence Warden. It's basically a Soul Sister. We're going to gain a lot of life off us, and we're going to gain a lot of life off our opponents, which pushes us that much further into win range because it gives us that much room to take our time. This card, this is the one I was talking about. Immaculate Magistrate. 4-drop for a 2/2. I can put a 1/1 counter on target creature for each elf I control. So with these two together, I don't really need her to evolve that much. I just need to tap this, put counters on this. Once that's done, we can combo. Do the combo, mambo. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You put counters on this. Or maybe you're only allowed, in some cases people put where only one creature can attack. Without Ezuri, this is really good to pump up that one creature. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Regal Force. This is another one you have to be really careful with in elves because elves is so explosive. It's a 7-drop for a 5/5. When it comes into play, draw a card for each green creature you control. If it's mid-game, you might want to count before you play this because you don't want to deck yourself out, but you do want to get as much board presence and you want to go for game. Sumberwald Sage. It's a 3-drop for a 0/1. Add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells. So this is really good because it's a druid. It suits our druid themes, and most of our deck is creatures. 52 cards in our deck is creatures, so that 3 mana is going to go a long way, especially if we have something like this out. We played this last turn. This turn, it's going to give us that 3 extra mana. We're going to be able to do this on turn 4. It really helps us ramp. Because there isn't a whole lot in here that does give us 3 mana. Most of it's 1 or 2. And with Leyline, this gives us 4 mana, which is even better. Crater Hoof Behemoth. This is one of those must-have cards in your elf deck because it's a good finisher card. This is those cards that I was talking about that you want to tutor for to end the game. A big 8/8 or 8 mana for a 5/5 with haste. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain trample and get XX until the turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Most of the time, you're going to control anywhere from 10 to 20 creatures, so all those are going to get plus XX, and they're going to gain trample. And that's not including what we can sink in with Ezuri here. So they're going to get even bigger. This is just one of those really big blowout cards. Soul of the Harvest. Trample. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. Now keep in mind, there's a big difference between this and some of the other cards that we have. Some of the other cards say when we cast. This is just on ETB, enters the battlefield triggers, if you know what I mean. So we really have to be careful with this one as well. We're going to feel through our deck so quick. We don't want this entering the battlefield first off right after we Genesis ready for 50 and we're down 6 or 40 cards in our deck, because it can get really, really close. But because of these cards, I'm able to just fly straight through the deck, and it feels so much like a combo deck, but it's really not. It's just the synergy in this deck. Now, that is not saying that there aren't combos. Here's another one of those. It's a druid. It's not an elf, but it's so good. It adds 3 to our devotion for a 2/2. Tap an untapped druid you control. Add 1 green to your mana pool. The reason this is in here is because we play it, we tap it, we play another elf, we tap it, we play it. It just allows us to empty our hands so quick. And if we don't have 1,000-year elixir, we're using this ability. It's basically like that 1-drop, but you have to tap 3 elves. This is a 1-drop where you only have to tap 1. So it's really, really good. 3-drop. I feel like I said a 1-drop, but it's a 3-drop. Be with me, guys. Elder Scale Worm. This is that card that I was talking about earlier where you pay the 2, tutor for a card, usually always popper to put it straight into play. This allows us to stay alive. And there's been several games where I'm playing where I just couldn't ramp into something. I couldn't do anything. Play this. They have no removal. And so I'm just sitting pretty at 7 life until I get something to win the game. This is kind of like my Fog, except for it's a big 7/7 creature. And it's easy to remove if you got Kill Spell, but if you don't, and as long as I ain't doing nothing, it's a big worm, and I'm not going anywhere. Terestodon. This is a really good card in Flicker decks, where you can bounce stuff. Enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put in the graveyard this way, its controller puts a 3/3 green elven creature on the battlefield. This screams, blow up my lands. Just kill all my lands. I have fun having it. That's what I normally do with this, unless there's like a enchantment or artifact that I just don't like. That's what this guy's gonna do. Then Eternal Witness. Of course, we have Eternal Witness. You can't play green without Eternal Witness. It's a human shaman. 3-drop for 2/1. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you may return target card in your graveyard to the battlefield. If they blow up my artifacts, I return it. Blow up my Planeswalker, return it. You get the point. I get something back. And in this deck, in any deck really with green, it's very viable. Almost probably one of the strongest cards in Magic, in my opinion, just because you can get any card. I really like it. And guys, and gals, will conclude our Ezuri Renegade Leader EDH deck tech. Send me a comment. Leave a comment, message, a thumbs up, like. Tell me how you like this deck. Is this a deck you're going to build for yourself? Is it too aggro? Is it not aggro enough? Is there cards out there that I don't know about? Is there cards I should be running that I'm not running? Leave it down in the comments below. Give me your opinions and thoughts, everything. Just kind of, let me know what you guys think about this. Is this something you just want more of? You want more deck techs? Is deck tech something you have passed? You just want to focus on the box openings? Let me know. I'm really early to this channel, and I just kind of want to know what I can do to satisfy everybody and do my very best to make everybody happy. Guys, I hope you enjoy this video, and I plan on doing a lot more for you. And I'll see you guys next time.